Hello everyone to another episode of TH Media More Than the Score, presented by Dubuque Bank and Trust. I am your host, Steve Ortman, along with Tim O'Neill. Tim, how's it going?
Pretty good. Exciting to be back once again talking about high school sports.
Sure, and before we dive into this week's episode, really, let's talk quickly the big news of this week. Super Bowl 50 is in the books. Denver Broncos are your Super Bowl champions. Tim, I know you're a huge Peyton Manning fan, a Colts fan. I know you were very excited with the Super Bowl championship for Peyton, number 2. I guess the question is, when the game was over and he was celebrating, was it kind of, for you, was it kind of like a light sobbing, a little welling up, or was it full-on girly man ball?
It was full-on girly man ball. At
sure.
one point I curled up, and I'm just not ready to say goodbye to Peyton yet. I was happy he got
Who
to,
is?
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy he got to go out with the Super Bowl championship, which is, the way any great athlete deserves to go out. Whether that was his last game or not remains to be seen, but it was just awesome to watch a player that I've cheered for a good portion of my life, be able to get back to that top stage.
All right, well, enough for the emotional Tim O'Neill, Peyton Manning talk. Let's get into some high school sports. I know this episode we're going to talk a little wrestling, so Tim, let's start off. We're going to talk wrestling. What were your thoughts on the Royal Rumble, and what are the cards going to look like for WrestleMania?
Well, that's not the wrestling I'm here to talk about today.
Oh, you're not?
No.
You're not wrestling?
No.
No? Okay. Prep wrestling. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Yes, prep wrestling. Let's recap a little bit what happened last week.
Well, last week was the opening week of the postseason wrestling for Iowa Class 1A and 2A. It was the sectional meet. We had quite a few schools competing. Dyersville Beckman sent, I think it was 7 wrestlers through. Grant Hager, Jake Recker, Jackson Feldman, Cody Feldman, Luke Hageman, Owen Grover, and Tyler Hirsch. Wallard sent 4 guys: Anthony Dudek, Zach Kemp, Mason Flynn, John Patrick. Cascade had Nolan Noonan, Sam Martin, and Derek Kopis. Macocata had a pair: Jacob Kloft and Trevor Bickford. And then we had 3 other wrestlers in Class 1A: Mike Jones from Edco, Jared Gerner from Clayton Ridge, and Mason Lyons from Bellevue. At sectionals, you finish in the top 2 in your weight class. You move on to districts. Districts is the meet coming up this weekend on Saturday, and that's where you get to state. So for those wrestlers in the smaller schools, you gotta win a few extra matches to get to state. And right now we got a healthy number of guys in those classes that have moved on and are now just 1 or 2 wins away from reaching the state tournament.
Sure. Now, if we're going to look ahead, Tim, who do you think are some of the heavy hitters that are going to really be able to do some damage down at state?
Well, if I look at it, I think this could be a really good year for Dubuque County Wrestling. We had 3 area wrestlers in the state finals last year. We had a wrestler win a state title 2 years ago. It was the first time in a long time that any Dubuque County wrestlers won a state championship. And I believe we have several wrestlers in the area this year who are capable of not only getting to the state finals, but winning the state finals. The list starts right at the top with Max Lyon of Western Dubuque and Ganna Gremmel from Dubuque Hempstead. Both are ranked number 1. Both are undefeated this year. Both made the state finals last year. They were state runners-up. And, they've just been climbing their way through the record books at their respective programs. Max Lyon broke the single-season pins record. If he doesn't do it this weekend, he'll likely do it at state. He'll break the school single-season wins record, which he tied last year. And he is getting really close to the career pins record, which he has a chance to break this year also. And then Ganna Gremmel, talked about him a lot. He's the winningest wrestler in the city of Dubuque history. He was the first to hit 150 wins earlier this year. He's since gone beyond that. And I know for both of those 2 wrestlers, nothing less than a state championship will satisfy them. For Gannon, it's his senior year, and Max will have another year after this.
Sure, and before we wrap up, it seems like the last few years you've been down to the state tournament covering it. We always seem to have a strong contingent from this area. Talk a little bit about the state tournament atmosphere. It seems like it's one of the biggest prep events we have in the state.
It really is, and actually at one point the Iowa State Wrestling Tournament was the biggest state high school tournament in the nation.
Wow.
It's The finals have been sold out for 30-some years in a row, provided I didn't miss it and they didn't sell out last year. But it's just incredible to be down on the floor and to see these entire blocks of fans from a certain school just stand up and cheer and go wild when their wrestler wins a match. And each round as you get further into the tournament, those cheers get a little bit louder. It's not unusual for me to get chills down my spine at times like that when you see these wrestlers who have worked so hard all year to get to this point. When you see them start to realize those goals they've set, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see them celebrate, and there's no greater feeling than watching these guys get that ultimate goal and winning the state championship.
Yep, one thing's for sure, this is absolutely a wrestling state, so it'll be a fun trip down to Des Moines for a lot of these area kids, and it'll be fun to see how it all plays out. Tim will be there covering it all along the way. So that's going to do it for this episode of TH Media More Than the Score, presented by Dubuque Bank and Trust. That's an emotional Tim O'Neill, Evan Peyton Manning. I'm Steve Ortman. We'll see you next time.